What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another deck profile, but this time it's a higher rarity Tachikaze build. It is Gaia. And of course we have John breaking down his build for us. He's going to explain all his reasons why and what they do exactly. Let's take it away.
Alright, so as before, your starter, you're gonna want him, you're gonna need him. You can't play a game without him. He's a cute little guy, love him. And on the topic of cuties, look at my little heel trigger buddies. They're just singing the melody of victory. We got 4 heel triggers, and we got 2 draw PGs. We got 2 crit sentinels, and the rest of our lineup is front triggers. Now, the reason I'm running front triggers with Gaia is because Gaia, I feel, has better, not better, I guess, bigger units than Anger Blader. So, because of the fact that it's only one gauge, will give +5 or +10 for every unit. I don't think you really need the crits, because fronts will be better because it can help turn things like triggers, which you can actually use to fight in Gaia. It'll buff them up. If they're on an Excel circle, let's say XL2, that unit is now 10, so the trigger is now 10. If they have a gauge, and your opponent's at grade 3, that's now 20. And if you hit a front, that's now 30. From a trigger. Fronts have a lot of value with Gaia. Just giving power out to everyone and everything that goes on board. It takes 1 gauge. That's all you need with them, just 1 gauge. To help get us 1 gauge, we got Sonic Noah, who also has another job for us of killing off any rear guards that just need to be retired and getting us more cards to draw, which gives us a nice hand. And because it only puts down 1 gauge, it literally always gives anyone who needs that gauge or a little extra power, that power that they need, plus he'll boost. And assuming you give him a gauge through maybe like one of your rear guards or one of the grade 1 or grade 2 rear guards, or you boost, or you call him with the Alpha Pyro, you can give your boosters another gauge, which will help boost them even more, which makes this really great for getting drawing cards and giving power. Grade 3 Searcher, Prism Bird. In this build, I have 3 different grade 3s, so he's great for fetching them out. Obviously, I want to find Gaia, because Gaia is the star of the show. He's the big boy. He's the one that's going to be doing most of the work. And this deck is just 1 gauge and done. He gets +5 from getting a gauge, and assuming you give him a gauge through some other manner, he also gets +5 or +10 depending on whether or not your opponent's at grade 3 or not. Last grade 1 is Blue Sprint. Blue Sprint is when it attacks, doesn't matter who, when it attacks, you can put a gauge for any rear guard, including himself. And then if he's retired by your card ability, you can call out one of his gauges as a rear guard and give it a gauge for free. So essentially when he dies, something else will take his place, allowing for some superior call multi-attacks. It's very nice because there's the Alpha Pyro who wants to be called out from gauges because he'll get +10. So if you can manage to snag one of them underneath him, you'll have absolute monsters just jumping out. On to the grade 2s, we got Ravenous Dragon, Mega Rex. Counterblast 1, give it a gauge. It gets +5 for every gauge underneath it. When it attacks a Vanguard, you can retire one of your rear guards, draw a card. If you have him and you have your grade 1, you can just swing with this, give it a gauge. Then you can swing with Mega Rex, kill this off, and you can call out whatever this was, allowing for more attacks, and you just essentially drew a card for free. And because he'll counterblast, he'll give himself a gauge for free, or well, he'll give himself a gauge, which will trigger Gaia's free buff ability. Another grade 2 is Regiment Dragon. Regiment Dragon is the same as Blue Sprint, but he's a grade 2 instead. So there's not much to say about him. Just copy and paste. And then, like I was talking with before, this is that Alpha Pyro. When placed, counterblast 1, draw a card, call a card. Optional. You may give that card that you called a gauge. If this card is called from gauges, it gets +10. This is good draw support. It gets a rear guard on board, and it gives that rear guard a gauge, which all you need is 1 gauge, and once you call out anything because this does not restrict you to anything. So you technically could call it grade 3. So I could ride him as my Vanguard and then call it grade 3 out, which would allow for just a nice little surprise of power. And give it a gauge, so it's set for Gaia to come next turn. And onto the grade 3s. I run Tyrant Deathrex. Tyrant Deathrex helps to remove things in the front row, or opponent's rear guards in the front row. It gets power for retiring units that have gauges, so say I buffed up my Megarex with maybe 1 or 2 gauges, I can kill Megarex and get plus 10 for that, and if he has a gauge underneath him, he'll become even more. It's absolutely monster damage, monster numbers for his power, and it helps get rid of the opponent's board. And it retires, meaning it can trigger Regiment Dragon and Blue Sprint's ability to call out another unit. Another grade 3 that retires is Therizino. Therizino is when it attacks, retire 1 rear guard, draw a card. And if that rear guard that you retired had an equip gauge, you can retire any rear guard on your opponent's board, front row or back row. So what I like to do is I have either these two clear up the front row so my opponent can't intercept, making it easier for me to punch, or if I know that there's something crucial that I should get rid of to help make my plays easier for future turns, I can help use him to help clear off the board and go beat down my opponent and put pressure. And lastly is Gaia himself. Gaia is, during your turn, if any of your rear guards have a gauge, they get plus 5. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, they get plus 10 instead. When he attacks, counterblast 1, retire 1 of your rear guards, and he gains that power. If your opponent's Vanguard is at grade 3 or greater, he gains their power and their critical. However, it's their original power, so not their boosted power. So not super broken, but it is still nice. And yet again, we have another unit that retires a card, which helps to trigger Blue Sprint Regiment, which can help get these superior calls and help get these multiple attacks in. So this will help you swing with something like, let's say, a Blue Sprint, and then you can swing with the Gaia, kill this, summon whatever was under Blue Sprint, and then you can do your drive checks. So you can essentially swing with Blue Sprint, let it die with Gaia, and now you have a whole new front board that you can swing, hit some front triggers, and your rear guards and every single one of your units are just going to be devastating if you can give them 1 gauge, which with this deck, very easy to do. I think the only thing you really can't do super easily is just give the gauges to the back row to help your boosters get stronger, but even then, gauges are boosters. So if you can get boosters behind you and gauges, whoo, your opponent's going to be in a world of hurt really fast.
Okay. Alright guys, if you guys have any questions for John, please leave a comment down below asking about his build. Of course, if you guys have not seen, John also has his Anger Bladder build up. If you guys want to check it out, I will put a link in the description box down below if you guys want to check it out. But comment down below, who do you guys think is better, Anger Blader or Gaia? Comment down below and let us know. And besides that, guys, remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Deuces.